I don't think I've done this since I was probably 8 years old, jumping on the bed, right? Feels pretty good, by the way. But why am I doing this? Just to show how quiet this bed is. You might have heard of Drake's $400,000 bed. It was a custom-built Hastens bed, and certainly Hastens are already quite a famous luxury brand, but I think that publicity might have put them more in the limelight than ever before. I have a Hastens bed. I had it over 2 years. However, given my karaoke skills, my budget wasn't quite the same. Therefore, it cost me $15,000. Before I tell you some of the details of the bed, I'll explain why I bought it. 2 years ago, I had some of the worst sleep you can imagine. I was desperate to improve my sleep. I had a friend of mine who had insomnia as well, and he raved about his Hastens bed. Therefore, I was like, well, okay, I could invest my money, I could buy a nice car, I could get a nice watch, or maybe, just maybe, I invest it in my sleep. And that's what I decided to do. Next thing I know, I'm in the Hastens shop. I'm surrounded by these blue and white checkered pattern beds, and I'm testing them out. I only realized this at the time, but the range was somewhat higher than I expected in terms of cost. Many of the beds in the shop were in excess of $80,000. However, I kind of focused on the ones I could afford, and ultimately the main price is the mattress. The mattress, in my case, costs around $12,500, maybe $13,000, and with the topper, with the bed frame, the whole cost was $15,000. Now, the beds get custom built in Sweden. They're all handmade. Therefore, I had to wait a few weeks for it to be delivered. And when it was delivered, a special team that works just at Hastens came over, and literally they were in and out of my house in 15 minutes. It was crazy. It's like, I thought this would be like an hour. I've set up beds myself. It isn't easy. But no, in, out, done, and the bed is ready to go straight away. It doesn't need 24 hours to air out or anything like this. And that was the start of the story. This is the bed I went for. I picked the beige and white checkered color option. You basically have two options at no additional cost, and this is a blue and white and the beige and white. I picked a beige and white because I think it better goes with my room. Take note, I didn't go for the backboard. This is a personal preference. It depends on sort of the walls in your room and how you want the bed to look. What do you need to know about this bed? Well, first of all, like I showed in the very start of this video, it's super quiet. There's no creaking noises. You can jump on it, you can do whatever you like on the bed, and it just doesn't make a sound. I think it's just very good engineering in terms of the bed frame that I included in the deal that I got. Number two, it's only made out of organic, natural materials. Primarily horsehair, but everything within it is either wool or organic in some way or form. A good example of this is you don't need to air this bed out. A lot of mattresses you buy, you have to give 24 hours for a process called degassing, which is basically a lot of beds are sprayed with chemicals, they're using sort of man-made materials that need time to air out because they are toxic. And it's not often talked about enough, essentially. Plastics, polyesters, a lot of the microfibers are possible endocrine disruptors. These can mess with your hormones and your health. It's little talked about in the sleep community, but it's something I would highlight to everybody watching this video. Going for organic materials is the best way to avoid a lot of the chemicals and toxins that you can get within the manufacturing industry of mattresses. In addition to this, horsehair is very good for airflow. It dries very quickly, and also it's very good for heat flow. So it should be cooler when it's in summer, and it should be warmer when it's in winter. And last but not least, when it comes to ecological products, it's just the fact that they're easier to recycle. They're not going to exist forever. They're not going to create environmental issues in the same way that plastics or a lot of man-made materials would. Number three, It's super comfy. It just is a very comfy bed. It supports the weight well. It feels very natural to sleep on. I don't seem to have as many sleep disturbances sleeping in this bed. It is a solid, comfortable bed, but in all fairness, you expect that for the price you pay. The big question, did it improve my sleep? Short answer, yes. However, it didn't totally change my sleep. One thing you have to understand about sleep is it is complicated. If you're struggling with sleep, it's highly unlikely just changing the bed on its own is going to kind of change everything in terms of your sleep. Sleep can be dictated from your mental health, your stress, anxiety, what you're doing during the day, your morning routine, your nighttime routine, the water intake, the food you take, the supplements you take. It can also be dictated by the temperature, sound, lighting, and last but not least, there's also a number of medical issues in terms of, let's say, what your blood work is like, things like sleep apnea, that can all cauldron together to create issues in sleep. Therefore, having a better bed undoubtedly is a good investment. It will improve your sleep in most cases, but I'd see it more as a marginal gain than a game changer. Overall takeaway, if you're about to splash out, let's say 15K or whatever your budget might be on a watch or handbag or some fast car, why not put it into a bed instead? Investing in your sleep and improving your sleep will help you way more than any other luxury item. I can nearly guarantee that. But if you're not somebody with such a huge budget, which is a majority of people, and I have to count myself very lucky for the opportunity I had 2 years ago. My earnings are nowhere close to what they were then now, I must say. You don't have to spend this much money to have good sleep. The main thing you need to look out for when it comes to beds and bedding is just looking for organic, natural materials. There are a lot of cheaper options in the market, and you can literally sleep on a straw mat and still have fantastic sleep. There are many budget options out there. If you're curious to learn about a few more of them, you can follow me on YouTube or on LinkedIn. I post daily on LinkedIn about sleep and self-improvement. I am a sleep coach after all, and you're welcome to message me if you're looking for advice on budget options. I can provide you a list of what's out there, what I recommend. Overall, I recommend it. Can't say a bad thing about it, but the price is a limiting factor.